I will check shortly if it's on. Is it on? It's not on? Let's start with the class anyway. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. What's that? Is it on? It is. Is it on? Yeah. Okay.
Says somebody talk with Manu.
Yeah.
It's you here now.
Okay, so I'm going to read the Sanskrit out. Nishamya bhima gaditam dropadyascha chaturbhaja alokya vadanam sakyor idam aha hasan iva. Translation. Nishamya, just after hearing. Bhima, gaditam, spoken by. Dropadya, of Draupadi. Cha, and. Chaturbuja, the four-handed, and brackets, personality of Godhead. Alokya, having seen. Vadanam, the face. Sakyu, of his friend. Idam, this. Aha, said. Hasan, smiling. Eva, as it. And the translation and purport by His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada. Chaturabhuja, the four-armed one, or the personality of Godhead, after hearing the words of Bhima, Draupadi, and others, saw the face of his dear friend Arjuna, and he began to speak as if smiling. And purport. Lord Sri Krishna has two arms, and why he is designated as four-armed is explained by Sridhar Swami. Both Bhima and Draupadi held opposite views about killing Ashvatam. Bhima wanted him to be immediately killed, whereas Draupadi wanted to save him. We can imagine Bhima ready to kill while Draupadi is obstructing him. And in order to prevent both of them, the Lord discovered another two arms. Originally, the primeval Lord Sri Krishna displays only two arms, but in his Narayan feature, he exhibits four. In his Narayan feature, he resides with his devotees in the Vaikuntha planets, while in his original Sri Krishna feature, he resides in the Krishna Loka planet, far, far above the Vaikuntha planets in the spiritual sky. Therefore, if Sri Krishna is called Chaturbhuja, there is no contradiction. If need be, he can display hundreds of arms, as he exhibited in the Vishvarupa form shown to Arjuna. Therefore, one who can display hundreds and thousands of arms can also manifest four whenever needed. When Arjuna was perplexed about what to do with Ashvatam, Lord Sri Krishna, as the very dear friend of Arjuna, voluntarily took up the matter just to make a solution. And he was smiling also. So his last line. When Arjuna was perplexed about what to do with Ashvatam, Lord Sri Krishna, as the very dear friend of Arjuna, voluntarily took up the matter just to make a solution. And he was smiling also. Amegana Timarandasya Jana Jana Shalakaya Chakshuran Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Mano Bishtam Stapatam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupagata Mayam Dadati Svapatantikam Namo Om Vishnu Padai Krishna Bastai Badale Srimati Satsruptas Goswami Tidamane Namo Om Vishnu Padai Krishna Bastai Badale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Tidamane Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pacharine Nirvashesha Sanyavadi Pastyatade Shatarine. So just repeat again the translation. Chaturbhuja, the four-armed one, or the personality of Godhead, after hearing the words of Bhima, Draupadi, and others, saw the face of his dear friend Arjuna, and he began to speak as if smiling. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So we can see here again the deeds of Ashvatam, how he is affecting the whole situation in the battlefield or after the battlefield of Kurukshetra, and regarding the whole Kaurava dynasty and of course the Pandava dynasty. How a person who is so wrongly directed, ill-motivated, can cause such havoc. While at the same time we understand that it is pastimes and Krishna is ultimately in control of the situation. But we can see again what a character Ashvatam is, that even while on the battlefield of Kurukshetra, Krishna was the charioteer. And yet Ashvatam at one point started pouring arrows into Krishna in a horrific, deadly way. Not deadly, but very dastardly way, shall we say. Because Krishna is not supposed to be harmed by the warriors on the other side, because he's the chariot driver, so it wasn't the position to do that. But yet Ashvatam just took it upon himself to do that. That showed you what his mentality was. Bhishma, on the other hand, did it as well. But that was a different kind of pastime, because Bhishma understood that who's ever on the side of Krishna is going to win. So he understood that he was part of this play, basically. Where it's very clear that Ashvatam didn't understand that at all. He just seemed to be acting recklessly. Just in the way that when he had that vision after the battlefield of Kurukshetra, when he saw it was the owl came and attacked the nest and killed all the inhabitants of the nest. So from that he got the idea to go and kill all the Pandavas still while they were sleeping. He enlisted 2 other people in that activity as well. Kripa and sorry, I can't remember the second person. So he's definitely really going against the understanding that Krishna is in control. To a lesser degree, I feel that Gandhari was in that situation. She tried to protect Duryodhana by glancing upon him, by giving him the benefit of her glancing, so that she would protect him completely. So she asked him to appear naked in front of her. But yet, on his way there, Krishna, of course, met Duryodhana and told him he shouldn't go in front of his mother naked, so he put a loincloth on. And he did, and then when she opened her eyes and was going to give him the protection, she saw that the loincloth was there, and her ruse was obstructed by Krishna. Also, she tried to obstruct Krishna again, or she acted negatively towards Krishna when she cursed his whole family, because that was her whole family was killed by Krishna and by Krishna's doings. So, although that was also Leela, Krishna was doing that because he had another purpose in mind, and that was to bring all of his own army, his children, out of the earth, because there would have been too much trouble there when he had left. That there would have been too much potency there, or even pride might come in the way, even though they were all pure devotees of Krishna. So, but it was a ruse on Krishna's behalf to remove them. So then we actually then can understand the verses in Bhagavad Gita. While speaking learned words, you were lamenting for what is not worthy of grief. Those who are wise lament neither for the living nor the dead. So almost in that same vein, we can see how Krishna, how he's acted with death. Even his own members, he had them kill each other. The whole all the Vrishnis, all his sons, and all his armies, they all killed each other basically. So you'd imagine that if you're a friend of Krishna, then Krishna would somehow or other, like what to speak of a relative of Krishna, Krishna would look after me. I mean, that's the whole idea on. And nepotism, you get involved with some great political leader, and you worship him, and he gives you all these great advantages and so on. So, but this isn't so with Krishna. While speaking learned words, you're lamenting for what is not worthy of grief. Those who are wise lament neither for the living nor the dead. And then we see the Pandavas, they were in such a position with Krishna, but they had to undergo so many tribulations. So then we're getting a picture of what this life is about and what it's like. And so we get a picture of how to act in this life. Not that we're callous, because we're sentient human beings, but at the same time we just have to be to grow up to the situation of life and death. Not that we kind of crowd it on young people and so on, and who have got they're coming in at a different stage of life, and then we don't completely give them a horror story the minute they come in. But gradually people actually get to understand the reality of birth, death, disease, and old age. And then if they're very fortunate, then they can actually learn how to act in that situation so that they will attain happiness. They will actually achieve happiness in this world, Jivan Mukta sa uchate, he can be happy even while in this world. And that's what Krishna is training through knowledge and education about the nature of this world, how to be happy in this world. So I was given the example there of Gandhari and how she was, she had a kind of a grudge in that sense as well with Krishna. So her motivation wasn't very good to act the way she did to Krishna. And there is another instance as well where she was also trying to kill Krishna, and then we had Dhritarashtra trying to crush, one of the Pandavas. So these are all instances of these people acting against Krishna. But Bhishma, on the other hand, is a totally different person. So when Bhishma saw Krishna taking up arms, he immediately threw his arms down and was willing to be killed by Krishna, and he was fascinated to see this picture of Krishna coming towards him, because he knew he was part of the whole Mahabharata, and that he knew that he was Krishna's servant right from the start, even while he was fighting Arjuna. He knew that this was all under Krishna's control. So that's why Bhishma is one of the Mahajans, and I won't say Ashwatthama is not, but Gandhari is not, or Dhritarashtra is not. These are all pastimes, and Krishna is showing how in different personalities we can still understand the great information that is being given. So this is the highest education we're getting. Education is such an important part of the Krishna consciousness movement. And this is why our teachers are very important persons in this Krishna consciousness movement, because they are passing on this knowledge to the next generation and so on, and also to this generation. And that Prabhupada wanted to create a Brahminical class of teachers who could teach this information to humanity at large. Because there are so many subtleties in life. Otherwise, you're faced with this question: why is God allow so much evil in this world? So that's it's very hard to start talking about that when you actually have to start to let people understand the much greater idea of what life is. Because imagine trying to tell a person that about karma when they've no idea what karma is. It's very difficult from the start. So as devotees, we have to sort of lay the ground down, and very important, we have to actually give this information to our next generation as well, because they're very adaptable to hearing this message, especially when they get it very early on. Komaram Acharat Pragyo is right in the very beginning of the preface of the Bhagavatam. Srila Prabhupada is making this point that we should teach from the very beginning, and that's why teachers are very important, schools are very important, because then the next generation, then they can imbibe this philosophy from a very early age. And so when they come to teens, and later on they can become very powerful preachers in the Krishna consciousness movement. So I thought I would speak about a few different items, a few different matters here. We see in the purport how Krishna is taking on his Narayan feature. So there are different phases of Krishna in this when he appears on this planet. He appears initially in Mathura, but then he goes to Goloka. Then he leaves Goloka and goes back to Mathura, and then goes on to Dwarka. So these are the different phases. So Krishna is different in all of those different phases, although he is the one. He's the same. Even in the and this point has been made here by Prabhupada in the purport. Even if we see in the cover of the first canto, we see the different planetary systems, and we see it on the inside cover, I think, of also. See, there's all the different planets, and there in the center of the whorl, we have Goloka Vrindavan, and we also see there the beautiful Lord Chaitanya's pastimes going on there as well. There is Gaura Leela going on also in the spiritual world. Very, very interesting, because Lord Narayan is very powerful here, and we see this here is Krishna in Dwarka Leela, because it's after the battlefield of Kurukshetra, and so Krishna in the form of Narayan is in this particular pastime. There is major differences going on. I mean, let me give you one quick example. We have in this Leela here, we have, as I was mentioning, we have Gandhari. She is kind of in there. She's creating a little bit of havoc on the scene. She's cursing Krishna's family to die. But in Vrindavan we have Jatila, who's the grandmother of Radha, I think. Let me just think now. I'm not absolutely 100% sure there. But she is also creating a little bit of havoc in Krishna Leela in Vrindavan, where she's the mother of Abhimanyu, is she? But anyway, she mistakes Abhimanyu for Krishna. Krishna actually goes in the dress of Abhimanyu, and she starts to, and Krishna tells her that Krishna is dressing up as Abhimanyu and is going to come in and try to associate with Radharani. So therefore, she should beat him when he comes. So Krishna is telling that in the dress of Radharani. So when Abhimanyu comes back, then Jatila goes after him and starts to really get on his case and beat him and everything. So there is people who are contrary in both Leelas, but there's a different element to them, you know. We see the same thing here with the smiling of Krishna, because in this particular Leela, Krishna is probably uses an interesting word as though smiling. He says, and he was smiling also. Or in the translation, he began to speak as if smiling, and then in the purport he says, and he was smiling also. So another section where Krishna is smiling is in the Bhagavad Gita, when Arjuna throws down his arrow, his bow and arrows, and says, "Krishna, I shall not fight." And then Krishna is going to instruct him, and Krishna, smiling at the other side, starts to speak to the grief-stricken Arjuna. So in this smiling, there is an instance where Krishna is well in control of the situation, knows what's happening, knows that his devotees are going to learn a lesson at this point, and then he seems to smile just before this happens. Now we know that the smile of Krishna is enough to, bring us back to the spiritual world, basically. Just this one smiling of Krishna. So this is a very powerful situation that's going on. Krishna smiling on the battlefield, but Krishna smiles in many other situations too. I thought I would just to show you the different leelas, which I know you know already, but still, I thought it might be interesting to see Krishna in these different circumstances. Krishna in Vrindavan, but also Krishna in Dwarka, which we have here. So now I'm going back to Krishna in Vrindavan. This is a section, it's in Nectar Devotion, chapter 45, Laughing Ecstasy. And it's page 362. And there's the different types of smiling. But I thought there's a nice little pastimes, to discuss about Krishna. When one is smiling but his teeth are not visible, one can distinctly mark a definite change in the eyes and in the cheeks. This is called smita, smiling. Once when Krishna was stealing yogurt, Jarati, the head mistress of the house, could detect his activities, and she was therefore coming very hurriedly to catch him. At that time, Krishna became very much afraid of Jarati, and he went to his elder brother Baladev. He said, "My dear brother, I have stolen yogurt. Just see, Jarati is coming hurriedly to catch me." When Krishna was just seeking the shelter of Baladev, because he was being chased by Jarati, all the great sages in the heavenly planets began to smile. This smiling is called smita, smiling. And another one. Smiling in which the teeth are slightly visible is called hasita smiling. One day, this is the pastime I was talking about, Abhimanyu, the so-called husband of Radharani, was returning home, and at that time he could not see that Krishna was there in his house. Krishna immediately changed his dress to look exactly like Abhimanyu and approached Abhimanyu's mother, Jatila, addressing her thus, "My dear mother, I am your real son Abhimanyu, but just see, Krishna dressed up like me is coming before you." Jatila, the mother of Abhimanyu, immediately believed that Krishna was her own son and thus became very angry at her real son who was coming home. She began to drive away her real son who was crying, "Mother, mother, what are you doing?" Seeing this incident, all the girlfriends of Radharani who were present there began to smile, and a portion of their teeth was visible. This is an instance of hasita smiling. When the teeth are distinctly visible in a smile, that is called vihasita. One day, when Krishna was engaged in stealing butter and yogurt in the house of Jatila, he assured his friends, "My dear friends, I know that this old lady is now sleeping very profoundly because she is breathing very deeply. Let us silently steal butter and yogurt without making any disturbance." But the old lady Jatila was not sleeping, so she could not contain her smiling, and her teeth immediately became distinctly visible. This is an incident of vihasita smiling. So, although the previous smiling was about Krishna, I'm slightly referencing here, but Krishna's pastimes are good anyway, so you might as well sit back and enjoy. In a state of smiling, when the nose becomes puffed and the eyes squint, the smiling is called avahasita. Once early in the morning, when Krishna returned home after performing his rasa dance, Mother Yashoda looked upon Krishna's face and addressed him thus, "My dear son, why do your eyes look like they have smeared with some oxides? Have you dressed yourself with the blue garments of Baladev?" When Mother Yashoda was addressing Krishna in that way, a girlfriend who was nearby began to smile with a puffed nose and squinting eyes. This is an instance of an avahasita smiling. The gopi knew that Krishna had been enjoying the rasa dance and that Mother Yashoda could not detect her son's activities or understand how he had become covered with the gopi's makeup. Her smiling was in the avahasita feature. So, anyway, I wanted to find the reference where about Krishna's smile. I couldn't find it, but there are different references there about Krishna smiling and how they bring one back to Godhead. Basically, that's the ultimate issue. If you see Krishna smile, that's it. You're there. You've associated with Krishna. You're associating with Krishna in a very powerful and positive way. But just, it's very interesting. The whole Srimad Bhagavatam is all about the pastimes of Krishna's friends. Like we have Dhruva Maharaj, for instance. When Dhruva Maharaj was about to get on the plane to go back to the spiritual world, two of the servants of Lord Narayan came to bring him, and immediately he felt great ecstasy upon seeing them, and he bowed down in respect because he was just about to get onto the aeroplane to go back to the spiritual world. But yet we have another instance where the gopis in Vrindavan, they saw Narayan one time when he appeared. I think it was during the Rasa dance when Krishna went missing, and they saw Narayan and said, "Hey, where's Krishna gone? Could tell us where he's gone? Have you seen where he's gone?" So they were completely not even interested in Narayan. They were just focused on where Krishna had gone. So we notice that the Bhagavatam, the first 9 cantos, and subsequently in the 11th and 12th in different locations, they're about Krishna's devotees, and we're studying Nectar of Devotion at the moment, and in a reading group, and we're coming towards the end, and it's just explaining about the different rasas with Krishna, about the servitude, neutrality, but that's not really counted, in service, servitude, fraternal relationship, paternal relationship, and the gopis' relationship with Krishna, the Madhurya. And the interesting thing is that the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu is a summary study of the Nectar of Devotion is a summary study of the nectar of the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu by Rupa Goswami. And in those sections, Srila Prabhupada gives quite an emphasis to the first 3 as far as fraternity. But then as paternal rasa and Madhurya rasa, very, very small, And we can see then the glories of the whole, of how this philosophy is presented to us. And how Krishna appears to us in stages and in gradually, and sometimes it's very strong, sometimes it takes away. It's, this Krishna consciousness is not, it's not a cheap thing. And it really does take quite an endeavour on our behalf to become qualified, to be allowed to enter into these ecstatic stages of spiritual life. But that is what will happen. That is where we want to go. That is, in this lifetime, we need to start to ready ourselves to be part of this whole beautiful situation in the spiritual world. And just in this verse and purport, we can see the different the stages of Lord Narayan, and then eventually Krishna. It's very interesting the way they're interwoven in this particular part of the Bhagavatam, because Krishna suddenly produces an extra 2 arms to keep Bhima apart from Draupadi, because Prabhupada says you can imagine just as this is happening, Bhima just is not taking any counsel from anybody and just wants to go and kill this character Ashvatam, but Draupadi is standing in his way. Of course, another instance, because Ashvatam is unarmed, although somehow he has a Brahmastra up his sleeve somewhere there, but he's apparently unarmed in this particular situation, and so therefore that's another reason why they shouldn't kill him. But Krishna knows what's going to happen, and almost Prabhupada in the purport says he's kind of engineering the situation around here, so that Arjuna can kill him and not kill him. But notwithstanding that very interesting comment that Sri Rupa Prabhu made at the last one of the last classes, whereby the killing of Ashvatam would have been great for him, after doing all that he's done. But somehow or other, they didn't get that benefit, and he's meant to wander around in a totally disturbed condition. So that may have been also part of his punishment by Krishna. We don't know. He didn't get the benefit of it all being wiped out straight away, and because he was not only was he offending Krishna, but he was offending all Krishna's friends. Although it was part of Krishna's pastime, he wanted his friends back to him. But I just thought I'd read this section. We know about the 64 qualities of Krishna, isn't it? So there's a certain section where Krishna is Krishna and Narayan. We have the first 50 qualities for the living entities. Well, they're in full in Krishna. And then we have 5 more qualities which are experienced by Lord Brahma or Lord Shiva. Lord Shiva. But then again we get to the qualities which are possessed by Narayan. And you'll notice in these qualities that these are the qualities that are stressed throughout the Bhagavatam as well. So Krishna in the Bhagavatam wants us to understand these different aspects of the Lord. So these are the qualities. Krishna also possesses 5 other qualities which are manifest in the body of Narayan, and they are listed as follows. He has inconceivable potency, 57. He has uncountable universes generate from his body. That's described throughout the Bhagavatam. He is the original source of all incarnations. He is the giver of salvation to the enemies he kills. He is the attractor of liberated souls. So all these transcendental qualities are manifest wonderfully in the personal feature of Lord Krishna. So here we have this situation. These are in Lord Krishna as well as Lord Narayan. And then there's the 4 extra qualities that are there in Krishna. Krishna has 4 more, which are manifest even, which are not manifest even in the Narayan form of Godhead. What to speak of the demigods or living entities? They are as follows. 61. He is the performer of wonderful varieties of pastimes, and in brackets, especially his childhood pastimes. Probably thought it might have been his Madhurya pastimes, but it says here, especially his childhood pastimes. 62. He is surrounded by devotees endowed with wonderful love of Godhead. That's definitely to do with the gopis as well as all the others as well. 63. He can attract all living entities all over the universe, says, by playing on his flute. So he's got his flute playing is unsurpassed. It brings everybody everywhere. And 64, he has a wonderful excellence of beauty which cannot be rivaled anywhere in the creation. So Lord Chaitanya has appeared and wants us to go to Krishna because he's the most beautiful, and that if you want to have pleasure here in this material world, don't go to the banks of the Yamuna where you'll see Krishna playing on his flute in the moonlight. This is where we want to meditate ourselves. We have to become qualified to do that, but we become qualified by hearing and chanting and serving and getting the mercy of the acharyas in parampara and in our as we worship the spiritual master every morning. And as I made this point earlier as well, this Krishna consciousness movement, which was incorporated back in 1966, Srila Prabhupada had really set up that whole system in parampara, whereby we could perform activities in ISKCON, and then we would be considered to be direct service to Krishna in parampara. So, incidentally, I was listening to His Holiness Jayapataka Swami talking about erecting places of pilgrimage of Krishna's pastimes, and it's a very nice lecture. You can catch it. Go onto the GBC strategic planning website, and you'll hear Maharaj talking. He's like, like that's inconceivable. That's I think is the only word you can use about Jayapataka Maharaj. He is so full of energy and enthusiasm speaking about this particular topic, but he's about any topic he speaks about. The fact that he's even speaking at all, as we know, and he speaks in such an elevated, profound way. So he was talking about the Krishna's pastime places, and he said everyone should do it. Prabhupada says we should all do that. So we can see in Govinda Dweep, that is specifically in that line as well. Govinda Dweep is meant to that in that way too. Now it's not that the average person from Listener Ski is going to come and say, "Where's Krishna's pastimes? Can I go and walk around the Parikram path?" No, gradually we have to introduce people, and then gradually introduce these pastimes of Krishna to humanity at large, basically. And Govinda Dweep also being from the point of view of being the central location in the whole of Ireland, whereby people actually can come and see the highest truth. They can see the pastimes of Krishna just right before their eyes, and of course not just the pastime places, but also the devotees who are there performing spiritual life in an exemplary way. Not putting any pressure on you guys there, but that is actually what Prabhupada wanted, and so people could come and become enthused by the devotees there, and in fact the householders, they are like the children of the brahmacharis are like the children of the householders in that sense, and they are looked after in that way. But the householders are then looking as the brahmacharis as their spiritual guides as well, because they are practicing in a way which is not probably open as easily to householders. Although, as well, a householder in his own way can perform activities which are completely pleasing to Krishna. There's no holds barred, but that's how Krishna wanted to set up the Yajada Charati Shreshtas Tadarivetaro Jana, so that that however these devotees act, then all the world pursues. But also it gives great energy to the whole Sankirtan movement when there's that great synergy that goes on, because the householders can do activities which brahmacharis would not like to do, like doing the accounts, for instance, dealing with the charity commission, soulless work, for the majority of people, which has to be done, so that the Krishna consciousness movement can maintain its place. These pastimes which we're reading at the moment, understanding the difference between Lord Narayan and Lord Krishna, how Lord Narayan or Krishna becomes Narayan at this particular juncture to keep Draupadi and Bhishma apart. How we understand the different aspects of the different motivations of the different players here. How Bhishma is different to Dhritarashtra, is different to Ashwatthama, is different to Gandhari. How Draupadi is acting on different considerations. This is culture, how the culture of Krishna consciousness is being presented here for us to understand. So this is going on throughout the whole Bhagavatam, how the Bhagavatam is presented to us about the devotees of Krishna, and eventually Krishna himself appearing. And in the pastimes, the Madhurya Leela in the 10th canto. All of this is real education, and I thought it's very interesting because Srila Prabhupada in his purports, he explains this. I think devotees know at different different junctures here, I present what Srila Prabhupada, what does Srila Prabhupada talk most about in his purports? Because this is Prabhupada's intimacy with us. This is how we have access to Srila Prabhupada. Chanting Hare Krishna is Shani saying, that's true. And follow the instructions of the spiritual master. But also he talks about the Krishna consciousness movement a lot. He talks about what is the goal of the Krishna consciousness movement. Like in the last couple of weeks, I've in the purports, I've found about 6, 7, 8 times where Prabhupada says it. So following in that, I'd like to also I'd like to also sort of show that again, some of the things that Srila Prabhupada is saying. Here's quite an interesting one in it's in the 4th canto, 753, 54. And this is where Prabhupada talks about knowledge and about trying to understanding Krishna and how Krishna is the source of everything. And it's just an interesting point. It's not necessarily absolutely to do with the class, but I thought I'd bring it up anyway. The real goal of life is to attain devotional service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The king decided, therefore, to reject the so-called priestly orders that simply engage their followers in the ritualistic ceremonies without giving effective instructions about the goal of life. At the present moment, the churches, temples, and mosques all over the world are not attracting people because foolish priests cannot elevate their followers to the platform of knowledge. Not being aware of the real goal of life, they simply keep their congregations in ignorance. Consequently, those who are well educated have become uninterested in the ritualistic ceremonies. At the same time, they are not benefited with real knowledge. So this Krishna consciousness movement is therefore very important for the enlightenment of all classes. Following in the footsteps of Maharaj Barishman, everyone should take advantage of this Krishna consciousness movement and abandon the stereotyped ritualistic ceremonies that go under the garb of so many religions. The Goswamis from the very beginning differed from the priestly class that was engaged in ritualistic ceremonies. Indeed, Srila Sanatana Goswami compiled his Hari Bhakti Vilas for the guidance of the Vaishnavas. The Vaishnavas, not caring for the lifeless activities of the priestly classes, take to full Krishna consciousness and become perfect in this very life. So, what I took from this is that as devotees we should become bold to spread Krishna consciousness. We cannot just stick with our rituals in Krishna consciousness and just get into a pattern of, okay, I do this and I do this and I do this. Now we have to do that anyway because we all know that the practice in sadhana bhakti is vital. It's absolutely vital. And that's where we become qualified. But we should become alert in Krishna consciousness. We should become very sensitive to how Krishna is directing us, how we can become useful in this Krishna consciousness movement as a servant of the servant of the servant of the Supreme. And so Srila Prabhupada, will notice in all his purports, is always trying to get us to become determined to spread this Krishna consciousness movement. And another section in which he did this, and this is, he's quoting from the Chaitanya Charitamrita, and he's quoting from various other sections, Chaitanya Bhagavat in one instance. So let me read this, and this is what I want to get about education. How it's important for us to educate our own children, but it's important for us to have the education to give to other people in society. And it's important, obviously, that we have to put it into practice ourselves. So here we go. One who has fixed his mind on the lotus feet of Krishna is to be understood as having the best education and having studied all the Vedas. That's from the Chaitanya Bhagavat, Antya 345. There are also other appropriate quotes in the Chaitanya Bhagavat. Seve vidyara phala janiha nishchaya Krishna pada padma yadi chitta vritti raya. The perfect results of an education is the fixing of one's mind on the lotus feet of Krishna. So this is what education means. That's the Adi 13.178. Also we have Digvijay Kariba Vijara Karya Nahe Ishvara Bajile Se Vijay Satya Kahe. Conquering the world by means of material education is not desirable. If one engages himself in devotional service, his education is perfected. So this is like almost like the crux of our Krishna consciousness movement. Srila Prabhupada for the whole world asked that question to Bhaktisiddhanta when the first meeting in 1922. But how can we spread this message? Because we are a subdued nation. And Bhaktisiddhanta says, we cannot wait for that. So he already had the answer. So in the same way, in Krishna consciousness, this is how we spread Krishna consciousness. We don't absolutely listen to what's going on in the world. We just spread this message anyway. So if one engages himself in Krishna's, if one engages himself in devotional service, his education is perfected. And then the Pade kene loka Krishna bhakti jati jani bare se yadi nahila tube vijaya kikare. The purpose of education is to understand Krishna and his devotional service. If one does not do so, then his education is false. And then, this is from the Antya 344. Taharet se bali dharma karma sadachara ishvare se priti janma sanmata sabara. Being cultured, educated, very active and religious means developing natural love for Krishna. That's in the Antya 344. Everyone has dormant love for Krishna, Prabhupada says. And by culture and education, that has to be awakened. That is the purpose of this Krishna consciousness movement. Once Lord Chaitanya asked Sri Ramananda Rai, another place where our whole movement is the turning point or the fulcrum of our Krishna consciousness movement. Sri Ramananda Rai, what was the best part of education was? And Ramananda Rai replied that the best part of education is advancement in Krishna consciousness. So there we have it. That's the class for today. I'm not sure how many people, if any, were listening. Hopefully at least my dear wife was.
Yay.
Hare Krishna. And so that's it for now. So I don't know if you can even ask any questions.
They can, but there's no one there.
Oh, you can ask questions on
Live chat.
it's a live chat, whatever that is. Sorry folks, I'm not really YouTube live chat. So I suppose I can give it 1 minute, but if not, I wish you all the very best. Have a wonderful day in Krishna consciousness. Is the most important day of your life. We can do so much. The holy name is the solution to all our problems, and the holy name is there for us to experience today, this very day, to the maximum degree. And Krishna, there's a potential today that Krishna will perform the greatest change around ever happened in service to him via the devotees in the Krishna consciousness movement. So be alert and do your best and leave the rest to Krishna. Hare Krishna.